We here at the Zig Life do love our classically styled motorcycle gear, and it seems so does Royal Enfield. They've got a huge selection of gloves, jackets, bags, pretty much the whole shebang for those who like their retro modern motorcycles. Now what I've got with me right here is the new Streetborn glove from Royal Enfield, and it's been designed for someone who thinks that wearing a full-length glove for daily use is a bit too cumbersome. Now this is a full leather glove. Royal Enfield says that this is 100% genuine leather all around, and it's available in two colors, this sort of more retro tan and of course this all black, but we think the tan one looks much better than this black one right here. Now if you look at the glove, it looks fairly simple. It doesn't have those typical technical bits like the plastic armor that sticks out on the knuckles, on the fingers, but it does provide a fair amount of protection at the same time. Now speaking of protection, it's actually got a hard plastic protector on the knuckle right here, but it's actually under the leather. So it feels like it's actually part of the glove. And even your finger joints have these foam protectors on top. So in case you happen to crash sort of, with your hand down, it'll absorb a bit of the impact. But again, those two are under the leather. So the whole glove sort of looks pretty uniform. Now for scaphoid protection, it's got an extra patch of leather on the palm with a bit of foam underneath. So in case you happen to crash with your palm heading down, it will absorb some of that impact. Now if you look between the index and the thumb, you have this extra piece of leather, but that's not so much of protection. That's actually because this part of the glove sees a lot of abrasion on the controls of the motorcycle, and there's an extra bit of leather on the palm as well to give you a bit of grip on the controls. But in terms of protection, that's pretty much it. Now yes, it might be a full leather glove, but it is completely perforated, whether it's on the palm or even on the top of the leather. So when you're riding, even in hot conditions, there's a fair amount of air going through, and it's fairly comfortable to use even on hot days. I've had this glove for the last few months, and we've had a few hot days here in Pune, and it's been pretty good in those conditions. In terms of the fit, of course, got a pretty large wrist enclosure with a pretty beefy piece of Velcro that holds the whole thing together on your wrist, and it's also got an elastic bit on the wrist to keep the wrist sort of narrow, and it ensures that in case of a crash, if the glove catches, it won't get pulled off your hand easily. So, and that works really, really well. I will say one thing though, that if you're buying this glove, you might need to size down. So normally I wear XL in most gloves, but in this one I went for the L size. It was a little snug to start with, but because it's full leather, it did open up nicely, and now it's just the most comfortable thing in the world. So if you do want a pair of these, I would recommend going into a store and trying them out to see which size fits your hands the best, other than ordering them online. Honestly, these are very, very comfortable, and for a daily use, these work really, really well. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows here, because there are some things that are missing from these gloves. For example, we think the protection for the scaphoid could have been a little beefier, at least thicker foam on the palm to sort of absorb that impact a lot better. And speaking of more protection, we wish there was something more on the thumb as well, because sometimes in a crash you can end up folding your hand this way and impact your thumb, and it helps to have some protection there. And of course, some more protection for the pinky finger would have helped as well. But honestly, those are our only real complaints about these Streetborn gloves, which are priced at Rs 3,300. They can be picked up either online on the Enfield website, or you can walk into any RE store across the country and pick up a pair of these. Honestly, if you're looking for a pair of gloves that work really well for daily use in the city, and you like that classic styling, I don't think you can do better than the pair of these Royal Enfield Streetborn gloves.